Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Yeah! How's that volume now, Roland?
Much better.
I thought so. What's going on, all you scallywags out there? You know what time it is. It's time. It's time for that man. You know him, Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. Are they telling us to move on, Roland?
Yeah, gotta move on, bro.
All right, whatever. I'm not, again, never would I have ever made a big issue out of it, but you know what? What the hell? It happened. But I got other stuff to get to, which is related to it. It's related to it. Because what we have to recognize is where we are in society today. And welcome to your Friday, by the way. All of you weekend revelers. When did it get so crazy? And the question needs to be asked, but it cannot be answered. Because no one really knows when. I have an idea. You have an idea. Many people can go as far back as the 60s and 70s. Some people will say that it happened in the 90s. I've heard many people on this very program say that it was right around 2008 in the election of Barack Obama. But I want to, if I can, from my point of view, I can say that there have been a whole bunch of things that have gone sort of back and forth. But if I were to really pinpoint where we are right now as to what led to the craziness, I think, if I'm right, and I'll take your phone calls about it. You can tell me if I'm off the beaten path here, if maybe I'm not gauging it right, but I think, I really do. I think it all happened right around the mid-90s. I really do believe that. That the mid-90s sort of ginned up the crazy. And it was on one side. Now, many people will sit up here and tell you, the Republicans are crazy too. And not so much. We've got them. There are some people who are beyond the pale. As any political group will tell you, hey, the independents are like that too. And as much as we revel and celebrate Ross Perot, you remember that time when started talking about space aliens. But I say it all began about the 90s. 90s was very pivotal for a lot of groups on the left. In particular, the African Americans. In the 90s, there was this emergence of mainstreaming in the urban community. Anybody remember when the late night wars were going on? Johnny Carson, David Letterman, Jay Leno. As soon as Johnny was out, Jay Leno, David Letterman were back and forth, and then out of nowhere, this upstart comedian does a nightly news show, and he was the new big thing, Arsenio Hall. And the moment that changed everything politically was a saxophone-playing candidate for president, William Jefferson Clinton, Bubba. That changed everything for that election. It is undeniable that in that moment, 1992 was pivotal to our way of life, socially and definitely politically. The Democrat Party was in the dirt. Ronald Reagan had pretty much ended them. Democrats needed a champion, a hero, and Bill Clinton was the answer. In that moment, on Arsenio Hall, got plenty of people who were kind of felt disenfranchised in their own right, whether or not it was accurate or not, felt like they were a part of something. It was a little different in 2008 with Barack Obama. I think a lot of that stuff was sort of fake and manufactured. You know, I think there was a lot of push by the news media. But what Bill Clinton did at that moment was strategic, organic even. I don't really think that the media played a role. And what do I mean by that? Bill Clinton, during that time, was getting, attacked by the news media, especially about his extramarital affairs. I don't remember anyone saying that there wasn't a fair and balanced news media during that election. Clinton was raked over the coals several times about that. No matter how many Democrats were on the news saying that his personal business was his personal business, the media did not stop. In many cases, people believed that Herbert Walker Bush should have skated. He should have skated in that election. But he did not, because the young upstarts really loved Bill Clinton. He spoke to them, and they felt powerful. People who never felt that they belonged did. 1992 was also an exceptional age. The wife and I always talk about this with the boy about 1992, 93 even. I told the boy this one story about a nightclub I was in Lower Manhattan. It was on 5th Avenue and 12th or 13th Street. It used to be a Korean deli, and somebody had hollowed it out and turned it into a nightclub. They were doing that all over the place in the 90s. But we were in there, and the crowd was mixed for 5th Avenue. It's in the NYU area, but the crowd was mixed. You had the hip-hop heads. You had the college heads, whites, blacks, Asians, everybody. Center of New York City, downtown. And we're in the club, and everyone's playing the most popular hip-hop tunes that were pretty much of the top 40 realm. So if you knew that, if you were playing that song, everybody who was there, no matter what demographic they were, they knew the songs. And it was a strong hip-hop sort of element. Top 40, but still hip-hop. And something, I still say it was one of the most miraculous moments of my 20s, as far as cultural and as far as cultural spheres go. So in the middle of that hip-hop, very urban sort of atmosphere, all of a sudden I hear a guitar riff played by the DJ. You know it well. Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. The whole place went nuts. They were more excited about that song being played at any other time the entire night that song came on. Everyone in that moment felt like they were in a concert with Nirvana. The guy was just playing a record. And that was the moment that I knew everything had changed. No matter who you were or where you were, music was absolutely like there was a mind meld or a meld of cultures right there. That year, that time was absolutely different for everybody. You might even remember this. Back in the, late 80s, early 90s, even what's the group? Guns N' Roses did a song off the soundtrack of Judgment Day. What was Axl Rose wearing in the music video? An NWA hat. Anthrax was performing with Public Enemy. It was a time that was unlike anything else. But at the same time, people felt like they mattered. People were getting involved in politics and social things in ways that they hadn't before. They were trying to to grab the protest and the protest class of the 1960s. They were trying to revamp the whole thing. Even fashion was going back to the 60s. I'll never forget, Gap started bringing back bell bottoms. The hippie age started going on. You have to know about De La Soul in order to understand that, for the late 80s. But people were bringing back the 60s, the protest era. People were fighting for their rights, so to speak. They called it Generation X because no one knew what they stood for, but they wanted to stand for something. They finally felt they had power. And as they got older, they wanted more of it. The election of Bill Clinton, the re-election of Bill Clinton, this meant they had clout. During that era, we had the Million Man March. Louis Farrakhan was more vocal than he'd ever been in his career. He was an outcast. This time he was staging marches on Washington. Can you imagine all of that, in their view, progress, years and years and years? And then, as you know, it's supposed to happen, right? All of it. Sure, we get the George W. Bushes, but the protests went nuts then too. But it was George W. Bush, and we had a war, and that was a good distraction in order to keep him elected, as many people believed. I'll admit, I was probably one of them. But the movement kept going. Progressivism kept going. And the further and further it got, the more and more momentum it got, the more powerful people became. And then, as we all know, 2015 threw a wrench in all of that. Many people stood around laughing at what was going to become the MAGA movement. There's no way this upstart, a guy, a real estate mogul and a television show host, a reality show host, there's no way that kind of stuff is laughed about. This isn't real. And then as the momentum grew, even when people thought that this guy was just tripping over himself and he was saying things that were completely outlandish, there's no way the world would ever allow that to happen. Look at the progress we've made for so many years. How could it happen? And it did. And you have to be honest about one thing when it comes to the other side. When you have a group of people who are complacent and comfortable, and then someone comes in and kicks the toys over and says you can't play in the park anymore, if you don't know how to respond to that, if you don't know how to fight back, you will just lose your mind, scream, holler, throw a tantrum. You've always had it your way. Didn't matter if you had a couple of hiccups here and there, but you always got it your way. And then somebody comes around and tells you, not anymore. You've had it too easy. You're going to get people reacting the way that they're acting. So if you're looking at all of this and wondering, why are they so crazy? Why are they so over the top? Why are they screaming and hollering? People who should know better, of age, of stature, why would they put it all at risk? It was because they've never had their toys taken from them. No one's ever told them that they're not allowed to play in the playground and make the rules anymore. They were always unstable. Now that they have to deal with a new reality, they don't know how to. While you were getting angry and trying to be strategic and looking at things from this point of view that says, how do I fix this? Or I have a problem. I need to deal with this strategically. Okay, I need to moderate. I need to, readjust. While you were out there doing the things that adults do, acclimating, these folks were losing their minds instead of going with the flow because they only see it their way and they only want it their way. Don't be confused by the crazy. Just recognize it. Unfortunately, we're the ones who are going to have to adapt. We're going to have to adapt to the crazy. But it doesn't mean that we sit idly by. We have to continue to work hard. Some will get it, some will don't, but we have to accept that many won't. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More news, more views when we return. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Listen to WTIC News Talk 1080 on the free Odyssey app. Download and like WTIC today for alerts on special programming.
All right, we are back. Reese on the radio, WTIC News Talk 1080. Was Angel Reese suspended from the WNBA? For what? I didn't know you could be suspended for bricks. You could be suspended for throwing bricks? I didn't know that. Perhaps they suspended her for the 2 to 3 points that she scores per game. I don't know. Moving along, we've got a guest today at 4:05. I'm not going to tell you who it is until we get to the headlines. The headlines will tell you who the guest is, but I want you to tune in for that because, of course, it involves another journalist and some news that broke today about the newspaper called The Day, if you haven't heard about it. So we'll talk to the person who is the subject of that matter, and we'll explain it once we get to headlines. So stand by for that at 4:05. I saw this story, and I thought it was worth discussing. And I think there should be a new venture. I've been thinking about this in a limited way because when we talked about Newington and the Optimo car wash, one thing that you guys kept bringing up was Optimo cited for having illegals working at its operation? And that is such a good point. But you don't really know how to address it. Because I'm usually of the understanding that, which companies, how do you know which companies? That may take a little bit of work. It may take some undercover work to do that. There might be some people who do know and don't know who to talk to. And the reason why I say that is that some of those people don't know who to talk to, and the reason why they want to talk is because of, obviously, for safety reasons. I could be working with some denuntenant from some other foreign country who doesn't know what he's doing and has nothing to lose other than his life, and therefore causing an accident that could take the life of somebody else who is certified to be on said job. It's like working with a drunk driver. The only thing he cares about is getting to his destination. And a lot of these guys, Kate, they don't care about the safety. These guys are getting paid pennies on the dollar. When you have the responsibility, because you are legally hired, you do your job with a degree of caution, severity. So I heard this story about the Georgia Hyundai dealership. Well, plant, I should say. Not a dealership, it's a plant. And when I heard the story, you immediately go, and it shows you how biased you can be. All I heard was that Homeland Security and ICE went down to this facility and grabbed over 450 folks, scooped them up. And I'm going, wow. Was this an actual plant where they were built? No, They were constructing the plant. So I'm saying to myself, oh, wow, okay. That must have been easy to figure out. And then something else happened. I learned today that a majority of the illegals were South Korean. And imagine all of us. And again, I'm taking full ownership here. So you guys on the left, say what you want. I am taking ownership of this. When I heard the story, I went to the low-hanging fruit. I went to the common denominator. I do not deny it. I went, wow, 450 folks over at the Hyundai dealership? That must have been easy to pick up. It must have been fish in a barrel for ICE. And then to find out that they were South Korean, a majority of them, I went, whoa. And no, truth be told, many of us do not think about that. But let me say this to the left. Neither do you. Because I am certain that just like me, you thought the same thing in that story. And when you found out they were South Korean, you were finally you were looking for an own. You were probably sitting up there going, see, they're not all Latino and Hispanic. See? I'm not, you got me. Guilty as charged. But you were there too. I know we all were. We had to have been, unless we read the story. If you saw the headline, 450 people picked up at a construction of a Hyundai plant, you would have never thought, whoa, South Koreans? Wouldn't have even come across your mind. But here we are. So I started thinking about it. I immediately started thinking about it, going, you know, maybe that should be the new frontier. Let's stop complaining about whether or not the businesses are being held accountable. I want you to think about this on this level. As much as we talk about our communities that have all of these folks in them, right, who were there, we know nothing about them. Guys like Justin Elliker tell us he doesn't know who they are. And if we want to, we should get to know them. By the way, imagine the risk of that the neighbor that lives next door, and Justin Elliker says, you go find out who your neighbors are. And you walk over to the neighbor's house. Hey, how are you? I'm Reese. I'm your next door neighbor. And the person that you're knocking on the door is from the Sinaloa cartel. Or some other bad group, a Hyundai Aragua person. And that person doesn't want to be asked questions. And start saying, yeah, what are you doing here? What are you coming here for? What are you welcome wagon? Get out of here. What if that person doesn't want to be met? And that person's got a violent history. Or a violent disposition. And I'm going over there to go, bring them baked goods. Hi. We wanted to bring you guys some freshly made strudel. Imagine. I'm just saying. But now, think about it on this front. At the Hyundai plant. Your friends and neighbors are working there too. Your brothers, your sisters, perhaps your dad or your mom. And someone is there who's not been vetted, clearly isn't certified to doing the work there. They may be certified in another country, but they're not certified to be here. They have absolutely, if they run the risk of getting somebody injured, they just walk off the job and go and find another one. Remember, the company has no actual paperwork on them that can hold that individual accountable. They pretty much just have to tell them, get out of here. You don't work here anymore. There's no paperwork. That person is absolutely, whoever it is that your family member is on that job is at the mercy of the next lunatic who's got nothing to lose. Just like the case in your community. So I think that it's important that if these things are happening, people need to step up. The Optimal Car Wash, if they are hiring illegals, look, it's a great car wash. I heard a lot of people love it. Many people are saying, oh, we don't want to destroy a small business. I don't either. But there are plenty of small businesses around. How many small businesses are not doing well? Because one small business is cutting corners. How many? How many people out there cannot start a legitimate business and hire legitimate individuals? Has to compete with somebody who is hiring illegals for pennies on the dollar, or just let them hang around and make tips. Oh, they do that too. They do that too. So there should be a task force for that. This case with Hyundai in Georgia, the press conference today, one of the spokespersons said that they got tips. They were doing this a months-long investigation. And they were talking to employees who were there who knew of the illegals who were there. One reporter during the press conference said that it was known by the local community that the illegals were working there for months. They knew it pretty much since the beginning of the year during the building of that site, that the neighbors knew about it. Now, the fact that a journalist in Georgia knew that, the people who worked in journalism in that state and in that region all knew. Now they're in front of the investigators, the guys who did all the hard work, and are questioning the guys who arrested them and says, hey, a lot of people in the neighborhood knew that this was going on for months. And you guys didn't report on it? You guys didn't tip off the authorities? You guys knew a scandal was a brewing with Hyundai? And not one of you alerted the authorities? You played the background? When has that ever been the case? When has that ever been the case? Gone are the days of Woodward and Bernstein, I might add. But yeah, no one said a word and had the audacity to bring that up. Young woman during the press conference. Yeah, this is something that everybody knows has been going on for a long time. Can you tell us how long your investigation was going on? And he just looked at her and just like, are you people serious? So everybody knew? The employees had to go to the federal government to get them to act? Because they couldn't rely on the local media to keep them safe, or to pretty much arrest people who were breaking the law and putting people's lives in danger? That's where we are. Max says, I, for one, just assumed they were South Korean. Not me. Oh, I definitely did not think South Korean. When I saw that, I openly admit, I was quite surprised. I went, oh. But it's not like we didn't know that plenty of other different people were coming through the southern border. Hell, I watched that Bill Maloogian report every night during the Biden administration. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More news, more views, and we got headlines coming up. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. More news and views than you can shake a stick at. We've got headlines coming up in a little bit. We've got some Hollywood news that involves a very old director and actor that I grew up when I first wanted to be in Hollywood. This actor and director I wanted to be like. I thought he was a giant in movies when I was a kid. And he was even gracious enough to star in a film in 1986 that I still think that he should have never done, because he starred in it and he soon passed away. I think he passed away before the movie was even released. So I want to talk about him in Hollywood news, so stand by for that. Of course, we got Between Rounds that winter coming up as well. Don't forget, you can always go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com, so you can log in. Also, follow me on Substack, where you can get my articles every Sunday right there. And you can find them in my good friends, the Connecticut Sentinel, who wrote a nice piece about me today. And thank the folks at the Connecticut Sentinel for believing in the show. And all of you, as always, as you support the program. I do have an update. Somebody just sent this to me, and I want to give them credit for giving me the heads up. So give me a second here. I think it is, yes, Trick Step sent this to me on X. He said, please let everybody know this. HHS reinforces religious and conscious exceptions from childhood vaccine mandates. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Offices for Civil Rights today issued a letter notifying state awardees of vaccines for children's program that participating immunization programs and program registered providers must respect state religious and conscience exemptions from vaccine mandates. Today's letter makes clear that providers must respect state laws protecting religious-based exemptions to vaccine mandates. And this, according to HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. So this has been an argument that many folks have been having. In fact, CNN was talking about it just the other day. In fact, I just watched Benny Johnson have a debate with, Chris Cuomo. With this, nonsense about, your kids got to get vaccines so my kids don't get sick. You could always homeschool your kids. And I'm like, why not homeschool your kids? What are you talking about? Anyway, but this is great. Religious freedom will be protected again under this. I just want to hear the people who are going to complain about it. And I love it when people make these arguments about religious freedom. It's funny. Speaking of religious freedom, I've got this clip that I was going to play yesterday, but of course things got thrown off the rails. They didn't get thrown off the rails. I brought that on. Tim Kaine yesterday. A lot of people were talking about this.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the Creator. That's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis, Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities. And they do it because they believe that they understand what natural rights are from their Creator. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
That guy was almost vice president. Yeah, Lori's like dodged another bullet. Yeah, I've never understood people who don't get that. That's another part of like the opening monologue. We do have a society that believes that government is our God. And there's another, group of people who believe that government is our mom and dad. They've tethered themselves to the government because, and this is the interesting part, right? Even though government isn't reliable, people still think it is. And what do I mean by that? So a lot of people openly don't trust the government, but they can easily rely on it. Because for certain things, they know they'll be there, right? They can get a check. They can get housing. Those things are things that they think are guaranteed. As long as I apply, they will be made available for me. I can't trust them with anything else. They keep secrets from us. They lie to us. They're always doing something sneaky. They're always lining their own pockets and their friends' pockets. But when I need them, they're always ready and available. Because without them, I'd have to do it on my own. And again, they even shun people who refuse government assistance, if you will. And I don't mean just welfare. They will shun you and say, and then malign you for having done it yourself. Well, you're different. You're the exception, not the rule. Not everybody is like you. I love that one. That's my favorite one. Not everybody's like you, Reese. I don't want everybody to be like me. And it's not a requirement that you do it my way. It's just like, do it on your own way. Other people need the government. They need it. Do they, though? It's just, again, it's a place where we are. And I think that's the part where a lot of people went crazy, was that now the government isn't what it was. I think that was part of all that nonsense, the screaming and hollering, was that government was being literally like chopped to pieces, discarded. People were nuts. Anyway, that's my take. Headlines coming up next. Oh, and congratulations applied to our newsroom. John Silva, Morgan Cunningham, award-nominated individuals. Let's get to the WTIC newsroom with John Silva now. Hey, John, congrats.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
All right, we are back. Let's get to some headlines. New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani campaign says that it has hit its $8 million spending cap. Is a sign of the Democrat support that's especially among small dollar donors in New York City. And I think that it's fair that we just start calling him Mayor Mamdani. I'm over it. The election is a bust. It is Zohran Mamdani's election to lose. And it's got to happen. It just does. I want to see those people withering on the ground in the hot sun. What have we done? Like that moment when Charlton Heston shows up and sees the Statue of Liberty waist deep in the sand. Good God, they've done it. That's what I want. I want it. That's what I want. I want to see it. I don't want anybody screaming, what have you done? You did it. We know. We're going to sit idly by, you know? Just sit right there. You know what? Can we see it from the Merritt Parkway? For scenic reasons. That's where we should be. Waving at New York. It sets itself ablaze. Hey, folks, remember all of that burning of Teslas you did? Yeah, remember that? Try this one on for size. Tesla's board unveiled a compensation package for the chief executive that could be worth $900 billion if he, Elon Musk, meets their ambitious targets. Musk, already the world's richest person, would have to increase Tesla's stock market value eightfold over the next decade to collect the full value of the package, according to the securities filing. All the compensation would be in the form of Tesla shares. The package, which must be approved by the company's shareholders, is expected to be put to a vote at an annual meeting on November 6th. Mr. Musk, whose net worth is more than $400 billion, according to Forbes, says the new pay would add around $900 billion. If he succeeds in raising Tesla's stock market value to $8.5 trillion from about the $1.1 trillion it is today, it would make him the far richest man in the world. In fact, the world's first trillionaire. So that vote's going to happen on November 6th, and that's quite possible. Anyway, other things in the news. This one we will actually cover live in a little bit. Dave Collins, the longtime columnist for The Day of New London, has been shown the door. He was fired over a dispute over editing a column about Representative Greg Howard of Stonington and his defense of the masked warrantless ICE raids in Connecticut. So it turns out that Dave Collins was trying to write this article. The Day wanted to re-edit it to add a comment by Representative Greg Howard. Collins did not wish to, saying he wanted access to the column. They would not give it to him. And then, as he puts it, after a 45-year career with the paper, he has now been shown the door via email. I read one of the articles that Dave Collins has written about Greg Howard. We'll discuss that with our guest today, who will be Representative Greg Howard of Stonington, who joined us at 4:05 to talk about all of this and what I believe may be a back and forth between these two individuals that has gotten personal, at least from the article that I read. So we'll talk to Greg Howard about that at 4 o'clock today. And now time for the stupidest thing I read today.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
This one is EBT at Taco Bell. Back in 2023, an online question asked, does Taco Bell take EBT? The answer stated, you may be surprised to learn that Taco Bell does take EBT at certain circumstances. You have to be eligible for this special program and make sure you're stopping at one of the 7 Taco Bell locations approved to process SNAP EBT payments. Fast forward to 2025. And Reese on the radio, your humble correspondent in his research, has now learned that EBT has expanded at Taco Bell's. Not to 8 or 9 locations, but in 2 years, EBT is now accepted in 165 locations in the country. That's right, folks. 143 of them are located in California alone. The remaining 22 are in Michigan. That is the stupidest thing I read today. My wife has got a look on her face. Oh, you should have seen it. I don't think I've ever been. I've only seen her that mad at me. She twisted up her face like, oh, man. Yes, that's right, folks. That is correct. EBT is now accepted in 165 Taco Bell locations. That's serious. 7 locations 2 years ago. 165 today. Also, in the next break, I want to talk about a story we covered yesterday in, in news, in headlines. And it is about the assault that happened to Representative Marianne Kahn and her federal lawsuit that was dismissed against the Hartford police. Well, we have a press statement or press release by the Hartford Police Union president, James Rutkouski, as I call him, Ruddy. We will talk about that, and I will read that statement on the air in a little bit. It's lengthy, but I will get into it. He has responded to the federal government's dropping or dismissing of that case, so stand by for that. You probably didn't hear it anywhere because only NBC was the only place that actually asked for a statement. Based on that, no one else seemed to care. Let's go to Jim in Waterbury. How are you, sir?
Good, yes. I called Speaker Johnson in Washington because there is a bill, H.R. 458. It would ban foreign adversaries or sponsors of terrorism from acquiring public land or private land.
Okay.
The bill has been sitting in the House Committee of Foreign Affairs since January. So I called them yesterday about moving on that bill, but of course I got a recording.
What do you think the holdup is?
But, well, you know the situation. I don't have to explain that to you. But 4 states have really stepped up significantly to try to stop these people from buying more land. And one was actually a former Chinese general.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's that. And one day, if I ever have the honor to meet you, I've got a good boxing story to tell you.
Oh,
see, I'm part Italian, and I get emotional.
That's okay. I love a good boxing story. I should say was.
If I ever had that honor, I'll tell, because I don't want to tie up
That's
people
okay.
on the phone that are calling about important things.
I appreciate that, and I hope that, Jim, I promise you, I hope that you and I get to talk, because I'm an old boxing head from back in the day. I know it's a little different now, and I haven't really covered it all that much, but I'm an old boxing head, so any story would be welcomed by you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It pertains to my dad.
Okay, love to hear it. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate you. You got it. Let's go to Stephen Waterbury. How are you, Stephen?
Hey, good, Reese. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. What's up?
Good. Hey, I wonder how many South Koreans are going to lose their jobs at Taco Bell now. What's going to become of Taco Bell?
Well, okay, can I ask you a question, Stephen? When you heard this
sure.
story, did you think that there were going to be Koreans that were locked up, or did you think the old usual?
I thought the old usual,
Yeah.
to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, but you also brought up Tesla.
Yes.
Guess who sold their Tesla and their Tesla stock?
Did Trump do that?
He might have, I don't know, but I'm thinking somebody that you talked to recently.
Oh, I don't know. Whom?
That
Oh,
would
I
be
do know.
McKinney.
Mr. McKinney. Yes, actually, he wrote a whole article about how, yes, I did read that. He wrote an article that said how he got rid of his Tesla for moral reasons. Yes, I know. Look, as I said in the opening monologue, it's petulance you've never seen before, because you have a group of people who felt like they didn't matter, and then everything they've ever wanted went their way. It was almost too easy. You know what I mean? Can you imagine that? Do you have any children, Stephen?
Not that I'm aware
Okay.
of. No.
Okay. But, okay, I'll just go with what would be considered the rudimentary view of children and how petulant they can get when they want what they want. Like, imagine any screaming kid at a grocery store, at a Big Y, who wants a candy that his mom tells him he can't have before dinner. And if this kid is rambunctious or doesn't listen to authority, he will lose his ever-loving mind, go kicking and screaming, running a tantrum. That's all this is. What I've always said was, and it's funny because my mom and my grandmother said it to me when I said, if you keep giving to them when they ask, the moment you say no, they won't know how to react. Right? They'll look at you like you're crazy. What do you mean no? I don't even know that word. And that's what happens when you give somebody yes all the time.
Yeah, I really hope you take this in consideration. I would love for you to put that on YouTube. I think it would be really worthwhile for YouTube listeners, and I think it would expand people's minds, plus get you a bigger audience.
I'll take you up. I'll take you up on that. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you, Stevie.
Appreciate it.
You got. Let's go to our good friend Steve. Fred, what's going on, sir?
Hey, I have a quick shot about who gets called doctor. I actually call myself Dr. Freddie H. Carroll here in Middletown.
Do you?
Other people call me that too. Yeah, I have a saying. My friends and people who want to be my friend call me doctor. Of course, I'm a high school graduate, not to wave that in everyone's face. But Dr. Jill was getting a lot of news a while ago. And so Ben Shapiro, who I'm not a fan of, but he laid down some great material. Who you call doctor all the time, Dr. Jill, Dr. Cosby, Dr. Kissinger, Dr. Moe, Dr. Larry, Dr. Curley. If you're having a heart attack, who do you call? That person is really Dr. So-and-so. The rest of it, yeah.
Exactly. In fact, in keeping with yesterday's conversation, I've decided to refer to myself as Reese on the Radio Esquire.
There you go. Absolutely, dude. The Frederick Douglass of the 21st
That's
century.
correct.
You absolutely are that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You got
one more thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Miriam Khan? Was it Miriam?
Did I say I said it's the way that it's spelled, it looks like Mary Am, but I think it's Miriam.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
right. It's spelled Mary Am, but I think you're right. It's Miriam.
And do I have time? A quick Jesse Kelly report. He's, the fraud. So John Kennedy from Louisiana, we all love him.
Sure.
But RFK is the litmus test. He's coming down against RFK.
I heard.
One job is to restore trust in the CDC. Not to make them trustworthy, just to fool us again, okay? So lesson. All right.
Look, I think, and it's funny because I'll talk about that later on, but you're 100% right on that people are on the wrong side of this, and they don't even know why they are. And it's about, look, the CDC let us down. To ask the American people to trust in the CDC today, even though we know that people are screaming, like he's the most popular cabinet official in Washington right now, at least in the Trump administration. And that polling does not flex. It is exactly what it is. And people are screaming in the hallways. When have you ever heard anybody in the hallway screaming about a Trump cabinet official? We love you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I saw that in the halls of Washington yesterday.
Parents of vaccine-injured children.
Yep, indeed. Thank you, sir. And that's, again, that's the craziest part about all of this. If you saw that on television yesterday, with all of the news media screaming, are you going to resign? Are you going to resign? There are people shouting, we love you, Bobby. And it's women. It's mothers. Mothers. We love you, Bobby. We love what you're doing. Keep doing it. Keep fighting. You think that guy's going to resign? Are you kidding me? He's got a chorus of moms. Mothers. He's not going to quit. What, because of Elizabeth Warren? Did you see the numbers of the people who are getting tens of millions of dollars? Those numbers are insane. I saw them this morning. I'm like, damn. No wonder these people hate this guy. The more he chops that fat off the CDC and HHS, the more he does that, the more he puts an end to all of that. Just, everybody gets a green light. You get a green light. You get approval. You get approval. While other companies have to sit 7, 8, 9 years. Anybody remember that? We used to have a time where people had to wait 7, 8, 9 years to be approved by the FDA. And now, FDA. Now we look around and we find out that things are getting just shuttled through. Let's go to Bob in Middletown before we take a break. How are you, Bob?
Good. How are you, Reese?
What's up, sir?
There's just something came to mind. Sorry to get off topic. You remember Renee Coleman Mitchell?
I don't know why that doesn't ring a bell. Enlighten me.
She had some racist thing with the governor and Paul Mounts. You remember? Her and another girl. I can't remember the other one's name, and it kind of just fell out of the news. I was wondering if you knew what was up with that.
Nope, but I will, in fact, give me 1 second. I appreciate you. Give me the name of the individual again.
Renee Coleman Mitchell was one, and I can't remember the other one's name.
I can
They had grievances with the gov.
Coleman Mitchell. I'm sure I can find something on it, and especially my actually, look, it just popped right up. Look at that. Okay, I'll look into it. I will definitely look into it. Former Connecticut DPH chief Coleman Mitchell's settles, it says. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but yeah, settles termination suit. So apparently there was a settlement. So I'll look into it.
Quietly.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, sir.
You got it, man. Thank you so much.
Have a good weekend,
you,
brother.
You too.
Take care.
All right, when we come back, I want to read the statement from Sergeant Rutkouski, James Rutkouski, the Hartford Police Union president, as it relates to Representative Maryam Khan, who filed a federal lawsuit against the Hartford Police Department because she was attacked by some mentally unstable person. And I want to read the statement. It's lengthy, but I want to read it. And it's very impactful. I'm stunned that this didn't get traction because it should have. What was done to the Hartford police, and we're not talking about it as what the police officers were made to endure. This smear campaign, as they're putting it, is important to note. So we'll break that down when we get back as well. And don't forget, at 4 o'clock, we're going to be talking to Representative Greg Howard about the Doug Collins article in The Day that, for some odd reason, now has led to Doug Collins being let go from that publication. And I'll read one of the articles in a bit that showed that there may have been a little bit of animus between these two men. when we break it down. So stand by. More news, more views, and you can shake a stick at. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
I don't want to say anything, but it's our birthday. I'm sure you knew that already, and I'm sure you've got a wonderful present. 100 years, by the way.
We're back. Reese on the radio. Yesterday, I reported that the U.S. court dismissed Connecticut Muslim lawmakers' discrimination suit against police. A federal court dismissed that civil rights suit by Representative Miriam Khan, in which she claimed that Hartford police officers discriminated against her by failing to respond appropriately when she was assaulted while leaving a prayer service in Hartford with family members about 2 years ago. And to lay this out, even though I wasn't there, what the complaint pretty much suggested was, as the prayer event was letting out, officers as well left their stations, right? They were there, of course, as security, and when the event was over, police officers dispersed. And then as Representative Khan was going to her car, she was accosted by a deranged individual who tried to kiss her, and when she, of course, pushed him off, he got angry and, of course, assaulted her. A young man, in fact, according to the reports, he was younger than me, though. Jason Spencer, who was a rideshare delivery guy, noticed it and came to her aid. Jason Spencer, was later charged because video evidence suggested that while he was trying to subdue this individual, he was kicking him in the head. I don't want to get into that. But after all of that took place, Representative Miriam Khan filed a federal lawsuit against the Hartford police. And that has been dismissed after an investigation by several entities by the federal government. It's been dismissed. And Sergeant James Rutkouski, who's the Hartford Police Union president, sent out a press release Wednesday. And this was it. And the fact that it didn't get any attention, I'm stunned. But I'm glad he sent it to me. It reads, as the president of the Hartford Police Union, I am compelled to address the ongoing saga perpetrated by State Representative Miriam Khan, whose baseless accusations against our dedicated officers have now been rightfully dismissed by a federal judge. This letter serves as a resolute show of support for the men and women of the Hartford Police Department who have been vindicated time and time again through rigorous investigations, only to face continued smears from a politician more interested in grandstanding than truth. Dear Representative Khan, it is with profound disappointment and outright disdain that I write to you the following the U.S. District Judge Sarah F. Russell's dismissal of your frivolous federal lawsuit against the city of Hartford and our officers on September 2nd, 2025. Your claims of bias, misconduct, and discrimination allegations that have been thoroughly debunked by Internal Affairs, the Civilian Police Review Board, and now a federal court represent nothing more than a calculated campaign of lies designed to elevate your personal profile at the expense of hardworking public servants and the community you purport to represent. Our officers responded professionally to the horrific assault you endured on June 28, 2023, ensuring the perpetrator was swiftly arrested, charged, and ultimately convicted. Body cam footage, witness statements, and exhaustive reviews have all confirmed their actions were appropriate, with only minor procedural notes on report documentation leading to remedial training for one officer. Yet, you have chosen to perpetuate falsehoods, accusing them of systemic bias against women, Muslims, and people of color without a shred of evidence. This not only undermines the trust between law enforcement and the residents of Hartford, but also sows division in a city already grappling with real challenges. Worse still, your ridiculous grandstanding has forced the city of Hartford to squander precious resources defending against your meritless suit. Money that could have funded critical programs like youth initiatives, mental health services, or community policing efforts that truly benefit the neighborhoods you represent in Hartford's District 5. The Hartford Police Union stands firmly behind our officers who risk their lives daily to protect this city, including you. We renew our call for public apology for the damage you've inflicted on our reputation and morale. It's time to end this charade, Representative Khan. Focus on serving Hartford with integrity, not exploiting it for headlines. James Rutkouski, Hartford Police Union President. And I am going to give that one an applause. And I don't think it even, of course I know it's not going to get a response, but to his point here at the end about the apology, this notion that state representatives are here to create a rift between law enforcement and the community that they serve needs to be checked immediately. It has to be checked. And the reason why is because, I've said this before, and people haven't made this connection. If you were to talk to Representative Khan about January 6th, she would be throwing in your faces, especially conservatives' faces. Don't you care about cops? Don't you care about the cops that were assaulted? While at home, admonishing Hartford police and screaming at them saying that they're racist and bigoted towards people of color and religion. That's all of that. It serves no good. And as he puts it, it is for personal gain. Who could that have possibly benefited by making that claim? Knowing the story, it's not like no one else can pick up on this. We know that the woman was assaulted. That's without a doubt. We know who assaulted her. We even know the picture. We've seen that guy with the tattoo between his eyes. Everybody's seen him. To think that anyone would read this story and even find a connection that says, yeah, I can see how the cops would be culpable here, is ridiculous. And it wasn't just grandstanding. It was opportunistic. At best, it was scapegoating. She wasn't going to get a dime out of the lunatic who attacked her. He's meaningless. It sounds crazy, but she would sooner punish the cops who showed up to her aid than to ask for the maximum for the person who assaulted her. Are there any reports about her showing up to court? Saying, make that racist, bigoted man tried to accost me. He tried to assault me. Did she scream racism then? No. At all. Instead, she found it was an angle. It's so pathetic. It's great that it was dismissed. But let's be honest, if it had been anywhere else in the world, what do you think would have happened? If this were D.C., what would have happened? Officers would have been dragged down to that federal courtroom. You know it. You know it. Thank goodness it was. Dave is in Brantford. How are you, Dave?
Okay, how to get off. A little bit off topic, but yesterday's guest, Fred McKinney,
yes,
gets to a problem that I see way too much of lately, and it's credentialism is what it's called.
Okay.
That if you don't have the PhD or you don't have all the degrees, you don't know what you're talking about.
I've dealt with that.
Kind of run it. I'm sure you do. I do also. I never, I got a certain degree, which, I talked about it yesterday, and I was a little jealous. I never got a PhD because you are dismissed. You don't know enough.
But you know what?
And yet you can learn.
Dave, there's an important notion. No, I'll let you finish, but there's another part about this that also, and again, it's not just the credential stuff, right? The credentialism. There's also that how you cannot opine about certain things because you're not of that particular group. Like, I used to make this argument all the time when people used to talk about COVID and police brutality, because they were all happening at the same time. George Floyd and COVID, because on one level, you couldn't talk about the mask mandates or the vaccine because you weren't a doctor. But people who had never been cops could tell you about policing. You know what I mean?
So Robert Kennedy is running into that a lot now.
Yeah.
He's often posited, you're not a doctor, you couldn't possibly know.
Indeed.
And yet, my specialty is chemicals and plant diseases. But almost all of that stuff is transferable,
right.
The way molecules behave, to human diseases, and the concepts, the principles of life are the same. I just want to say, so he was a little highfalutin. You have no right to opine on subjects that I've got a degree that says I'm a genius and you don't know nothing. It was very painful. Listen, I have a book. This summer I spent a bunch of time reading about black holes in the expanding universe and stuff.
Okay.
You say, wow, that's pretty weird. So one of them I got is called Fear of a Black Universe.
Ah.
Stephen Alexander.
I know that
thought
book.
It was more or less because it was in the physics section with all the black hole stuff. So it turns out the Fear of a Black Universe, Stephen Alexander is a black professor.
Yes, I know the book.
Physicist.
I know the book.
And his theory is, there's principles of relativity, quantum mechanics, and emergence. And he's arguing there's a fourth important principle, the principle of blackness, because he's black. And his status as an outsider enables him to see what others have not. It is only by embracing the perspectives of marginalized people that physics will produce breakthroughs. Can you imagine saying my physics is better because I'm black? And
wait, hold on, Dave. First of all,
almost what McKinney was saying yesterday.
No, but I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate you because you unwittingly told me you got duped by the title of a book. But I love that you found it.
By the title of the book, but the Dewey Decimal System it is a book about physics in the universe.
No, I know.
But it turned out to be more of a sociological book on the pain of being a black professor in a white world.
Perfect. No, it's one of those things that I call the perfect accident. You know what I mean? So, right, in it, you gain a wealth of knowledge and a little bit of parody at the same time, which I think is fantastic.
Well, I thought it was a Friday topic. Thanks for letting me on.
You got it, buddy, as usual. Right? Dave is on point, as usual. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We got traffic and weather coming up. Matt Benz is in for Bob Larson today. Can you believe I got the schedule now? I figured it out. We'll return. More news, more views than you can shake a stick at. Plus, our guest is coming up, Representative Greg Howard. When we return, it's Reese on the radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080. I keep forgetting to turn that microphone on. Anyway, like I said, when we return, we've got Representative Greg Howard on the program. He'll be talking about the Doug Collins issue over at the newspaper or the publication called The Day. Talking about that little back and forth between them. I've got an article, the last article that he wrote, Collins wrote about Howard, where Collins refers to MAGA folks as a cancer, which I found interesting. And I'm going to talk to him about that and about a lot of things. In fact, Lori actually mentioned something in the chat room that I will ask about because there is a belief amongst many in Connecticut by Republicans and MAGA folks that are concerned about whether or not there's an embracing of MAGA folks, Trump voters in the state. I don't even need to go into some of the names, but we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So stand by for that. That's coming up very, very soon. Plus, our Between Rounds winner is also announced. Let's take Steve in Andover real quick before we go to break. Hello, Steve. No? Steve has stepped away from his phone. Okay, it's happened. It's not supposed to go as planned, folks. It never does. That's the second day you got the name of the fill-in traffic guy's name correct, Matteo says. You're getting better and better. Because I have it written over here with the date. Finally, somebody. By the way, they've actually made it a mental note to email me the names of the people filling in. I'm so happy that they did. And you know what? Here's why. Can I tell you a little inside baseball? Look, these guys, John Silva, Mark Christopher, and whoever's doing weather, They are a part of the show. I incorporate everyone. Our sponsors, they're a part of the show. They are living, breathing parts of the show. Between rounds, especially. We got Columbia Dental. They're all a part of this show. So when it's important for me that I know them because I need to sort of weave in all of these people and have it just flow naturally. Now, I'm assuming, not Mark Christopher, sorry, Roland. Now, Bob Larson is officially the meteorologist for the show, right? He's just out or he's doing
I don't know.
You don't know yet, okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so I'm assuming that because we don't know, because we get a list every week now of who's filling in. And I'm happy that they're doing it because I want to make sure that, one, those guys get their props, they get their respect, and that I mentioned them. Mark Christopher, who's a part of the show. And if I can, for a minute, I'm just going to rehash a little bit of yesterday. Please, folks, listen to the end of the bit yesterday about the whole interview. Mark Christopher crushes the end of that. Everybody is texting me going, Mark Christopher earned his paycheck with the Ashanti tribe reference yesterday. It was killer. I can't stop listening to it. It's my favorite part. And I literally did get dizzy when he said it. I was laughing so hard, I was getting dizzy. That's how good it was. So, that's the reason why. So all of these members are part of the show, and I appreciate all of them. They are contributors to the show. They're part of the Reese on the Radio fam, whether they like it or not. Speaking of which, let's get to weather and traffic. Matt Benz, as I said, is filling in for Bob Larson, and Mark Christopher. I have to say, the creme de la creme of radio and segue on this program is in the BPS Traffic Center. Mark, they loved yesterday's Ashanti tribe thing. That was the best. You couldn't get quicker. You're always quick, but that one was absolutely over the top, my friend.
I think Ashanti's married. Is she married to R. Kelly now?
No, Nelly. she's dating
Nelly.
R. Kelly's in prison.
Yes. Hello. Nelly.
Yeah. You think he needs to get to movies more, folks?
Yeah, really.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Yes, Nelly. At least I think, Roland, she is with Nelly, right?
Yeah, she is.
Correct.
Yeah, she's with Nelly.
I think they just had a baby or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
they
didn't
just
know
had a
that.
baby, so
All
there
right.
you go.
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, folks, stand by a little bit. We will have Representative Greg Howard on the phone. We'll talk to him about something in the headlines today, but Doug Collins of The Day, who was let go from that publication because of an article that was written by the aforementioned Greg Howard. We'll talk to him about that and, of course, some other articles. Apparently, there was another article from April 6th called The Troubling Repost Blamed on Unnamed Staffer that Doug Collins had a problem with. We'll get to that in a minute. Now it's time for this.
Savory, flavory, bagel, deli, and bakery. Between rounds.
And congratulations goes to Miss Vanessa T. of Sandy Hook, or in Sandy Hook. I don't know if she's from there. I just know she lives there. In Sandy Hook, she is our recipient of a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe. We sent her an email. By the way, when you win, look out for your email that comes directly from me. Nobody else is sending that email. I don't have a staff. If I had that kind of money, we'd have moved yesterday. Thinking about starting a GoFundMe. This is so damn expensive. Anyway, but I will send you an email in the day to let you know that you've won. If you would like to win, you got to go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. To enter, you're going to put in your telephone number and your date of birth. That must be in there, of course, with all the information. You must live in the state of Connecticut, and you cannot have won within the last 6 months. So you can enter every 6 months, after you win. But you got to go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. Like I said, when we come back, we will have Greg Howard, representative in Hartford, in Stonington, I think. And we'll talk to him about these articles. This article that was written back in April about Greg Howard was interesting. Here's a pull quote from it. Indeed, the courts and their constitution-given authority are a thin line now separating our beloved democracy from the ascending Trump authoritarianism. That's what he wrote. And another party writes, Republican Greg Howard of Stonington last week's repost on the official state legislative Facebook page, an attack on the authority of the courts from senior White House aide Stephen Miller. And he then goes on to talk about how these statements, these free speech statements, are a cancer running through the Republican Party or the GOP. A cancer. Questioning the court's authority is now cancerous. This has been written on the pages of the day. All right, whatever. Let's get another check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. I don't know who's there.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, welcome to the program, folks. We are back, and as promised, Representative Greg Howard is on the line. Thanks for joining us on short notice, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
So let's get into this, but apparently, because apparently you and David Collins, I called him Doug, David Collins, formerly of The Day, have had a couple of run-ins editorially in the past. April was the last article, and now apparently there's another article that you were subject to with Mr. Collins that is now, I guess, under review or has been published or hasn't been published. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So David Collins is an opinion writer for The Day. He's long been known as a left Democrat opinion writer. He has a habit of attacking Republicans, and just about every other piece lately in the last 5 or 6 years has had Trump in it. But in any event, he emailed me last Wednesday morning, over a week ago, because Senator Blumenthal and I have been at odds over. Senator Blumenthal's been at podiums and essentially, targeting ICE agents on the street for their failures as a Connecticut senator to fix our immigration problem. But in any event, Dave Collins a week ago asked me for a comment on some, for additional comments on some comments that I made relevant to that. So I told him I would respond to him, provided he reported accurately. He took offense to that, and I said, well, you can be offended if you want to, but at the end of the day, you have reported, you have put an opinion piece in the paper before saying you reached out for me for comment, and I didn't respond. And in fact, I had responded. There was a timestamped email of my response. I sent it to editors, and they made him correct it. But Reese, this is the game, right? People have already read it, and then they go back and correct it online.
Right.
And then again, he posted an article last year and said, Howard is, unwilling to utter any criticism of Donald Trump. Well, that's not true. There's things I disagree with the president on, and I have criticized those things publicly. And in fact, they were quoted in his own paper. Yet he reported non-factual things once again. So I reminded him of that, and then I gave him an answer. But this time, I wasn't going to play his game anymore. This time, I CC'd the editors from the beginning. So it's no more, we corrected it after the fact. And then I told the editors, or suggested to them that if it goes out this way, with me being misrepresented again, they're on the hook. It's not, we fixed it after. You knew ahead of time. I don't know what happened after that, but I'm led to believe he wrote the opinion piece as he normally would. The editors took a look at it and said, this is not what Representative Howard said. You're misrepresenting his position. And something transpired, and he was terminated. But look, and this is what I've said many times in the last 48 hours. I'm an elected official, and I think that there's a partnership between elected officials and the media. They should never be allies. They should be partners.
Right.
And partnerships work like this. I, as an elected official, have a responsibility to that partnership to be transparent and responsive. They, the media, whether it be radio, TV, or print, have a responsibility to be accurate. That's it. And that's all I've ever asked. If I misstep, if I do something wrong, you were referencing the April article, with the post on my Facebook page, and that was posted by a staffer who has access to my Facebook page, who inadvertently meant to post it on his own, which of course he can do. He's a private citizen, inadvertently, because he manages my page, put it on there. I take responsibility for that. I don't fault David Collins or The Day for calling attention to it. I'm the elected official. That person works for me, and I take responsibility. I clarified the record that I don't agree with that particular.
Well, let's not, Representative. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. A lot of people don't know about this, so I want, if I can. No. I totally appreciate you being as transparent as you suggested you are. I want to get into a little bit of the details of that, because this is an important note, and this is what I noticed even with the little bit that I gathered today. And look, I'm not going to lie. I am research guy, right? So it only takes me 15 minutes and I get to the bottom of anything. In that April article, I already knew that this guy had it out for you. I needed no other evidence of that. Like, this guy had his sights on you. How did I know?
Crafted flats from Pizza Hut are just $5 each.
What the heck was that?
Choose from 5 handcrafted
I'm sorry.
recipes you won't
Forgive
want to
me.
share.
That's my fault. That was my fault.
That's okay.
I was like, I was panicking.
I thought it was you. Yeah, that was me. My apologies. Okay, so this is the reason why. I can always tell, and I tell everybody, be careful of what you write unless it is being intentional. So let me give people a sort of an insight into David Collins. He wrote this about you, about the article, about the piece in Facebook. He also apologized, but said he was not going to resign, as one constituent suggested, because of a mistake by a staffer. The lawmaker, who is also a Stonington police officer, told me in an email that he was satisfied that the posting on the site was a mistake and, in fact, was taken down before he had become aware of it on Sunday. He says, I take him at his word and believe he was probably as offended by the attack on the judiciary authority as so many of the rest of us were. Making that assumption is ridiculous. But then he says this: how could anyone make such a colossal mistake? I'm like, an enormous provocative opinion in the name of the legislator you work for, apparently without permission from anyone. So he's outraged that someone said something he disagreed with. No one asked for the heads. No one asked for any violence. The post just agreed with what Stephen Miller posted and reposted that, which, again, Stephen Miller, or even your staffer for that matter, has the constitutional right to post. But he wanted your resignation. He wanted the firing of the staffer. He wanted you admonished in the public. I mean, hell, he probably wanted you tarred and feathered. I immediately took from his article that you were a pariah. Why? Because he then goes on to talk about how Stephen Miller's rhetoric is a cancer on Connecticut politics, particularly in the GOP.
So there's a couple things that I think listeners should understand. And you're exactly right. I've been a target of his from day one, and day one for me was November of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was I ran for state rep. As you said, I'm a police officer, and let's face it, the Democrats' most hated group of people is police officers.
Indeed.
They won't tell you that, but that is exactly what it is. And that was at the height of a lot of police stuff. I decided in late July to run for office. I have no political background. I never served on a board or a commission, anything. I had enough. And I've had enough. They spit in the face of a profession that I dedicated my adult life to. I've been on the job for 23 years now, honorably, and I took exception to it. The state representative incumbent that we had in our district was a Democrat, of course, and she and the Democrat before her had occupied that seat as a blue seat for almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I under any political math, I should not win. But I did, and they have been doing everything they can to try to get me to resign since then. It's ironic, isn't it, Reese, that the people who claim, that we have to live with the consequence of an election, and elections are important, and you can't deny elections. The minute that somebody gets elected, they don't want. They do everything they can to try to overrule the will of the people, and it's only gotten worse for them. In 2024, this district went +10 for Harris, and I won it by 16 points as a Republican.
Damn.
That enrages them, and it enrages people like David Collins. So they do two things. They try to get you to resign by doing things like you're talking about, or they try to
nitpicking,
go after your family and make your life so miserable that you say it's not worth it anymore, and that's never going to happen. And I just stand up to them. I square my shoulders and I say, let's go. The bottom line is I'm right on the issues. What he wanted, he wanted me to out the name of my staffer.
Yes.
It's not the staffer's responsibility. I'm the one who takes the heat. And what happens
and you did.
Is between me and him. And I take the heat, and I'm willing to take the heat. I have no problem taking
No,
the heat.
you took the heat, and I think what it was this capitulation that Collins was looking for them is the pound of flesh, right? And then what is it? What does the flesh-eating virus always do? It wants more, right? Because if you capitulate, there is no end. It doesn't stop. It's like, we got him to do this. We'll do more. Now I got to ask you this because I got to kind of put you on your feet a little bit here. Now, I don't know this about you, and again, I've never met you, but I know about this story, and I know a little bit about yours. But is there honestly a apprehension to embrace MAGA folks in the state of Connecticut. That is a strong criticism of the Connecticut GOP writ large. And it's not just about Ben Proto. It's just about conservatives or conservatism in Connecticut, that there's a couple of people who are a little tight-lipped about whether or not they endorse the president. As you said earlier, there are some things that you disagree with them about. I do. I talk about it on this radio show all the time. But what do you say to critics on the GOP side, on the conservative side, who say that you guys in some way don't embrace MAGA, not just Donald Trump, but the supporters within the state?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I say to people is this: you give me an issue, and we'll talk about the issue, and I'll tell you if I support the issue or not.
Okay.
When it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to what he's doing in immigration, I'm taking a ton of criticism from the left for supporting everything that Donald Trump is doing when it comes to those particular things. When I say I don't embrace MAGA, or when I get criticized of that, it's when I don't blindly follow a partisan ideal, right?
Okay.
So there are things that I take on an issue by issue basis. And there's another thing that needs to be said, and this is what upsets an awful lot of so-called MAGA people, is I have 2 teenage sons.
Okay.
I know that, right? And when you're a father, your boys watch every move you make, and they emulate every single thing that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have the President of the United States, and Donald Trump does this at times, using words, rhetoric, and insults that I don't think are becoming of the President of the United States, those are things that I don't support. And MAGA people, so-called MAGA people, get upset with me. Why are you criticizing him for calling that person a fat pig? She is a fat pig. Well, because I'm a gentleman. I was raised a gentleman. I'm raising 2 gentlemen, and I'm not going to endorse calling women like that because you disagree with them. And in my opinion, when you engage with those things, or when you have teachers like my sons have had that go after them because they have their political ideals that don't align with those little boys' dads, because they're a little bit older now, but when they were younger, those are the problems with politics that are getting it out of control. And I think what people need to realize is if you want to criticize a policy, that's fine. You want to criticize a position, that's fine. But when you start with personal attacks, you really lost me. And David Collins is a great example of that. And so aren't people who go on Facebook and say things. Ironically, I get called a rapist by people who are convicted rapists. Imagine that.
Wow.
But that's what happens. And when you get to that point, and whether one side or the other, I'm not going to endorse it.
Well, let me put it to you this way, and I totally get that, and 100%. And I'm not going to ask you in any way to sort of alter your position on that. That's a hard line because, of course, you have children and you have morals. Stick by them. Sure. By the way, everybody should commend you on standing your ground. It's like, look, I want to support the president where it's relevant, but don't ask me to support the maligning of individuals on their looks and things like that because that's right. Beneath me. That gives you integrity. Right. But don't let anybody, here's the thing, don't let anybody move you, right, or make you malleable to that nonsense by then telling you because you won't support that behavior that you're not full MAGA or you're not fully on board. I get, and thank you for addressing that because people, I get it all the time. Not that they get mad at me because I'm supposed to behave some sort of way. I've told these people from the get-go, you're never going to get, I'm not aligned with anybody. I've got no friends. I don't want any friends. Well, I have friends, but not like that. But nobody moves me. I'm not malleable. I do what I want to do, and I make my own, I make my own rules. When people ask me to move a certain way that I can't, I tell them no. And if I have to cut ties, I just cut ties. And I appreciate you in stating that. I don't want you to ever change your ways in that regard. But when I say endorse or embrace MAGA, it is, you can do it in a way, and I think that the GOP can do it in a way, as you just stated. In fact, you don't even have to get into the conversation about calling somebody a fat pig. That's not the issue. The point is that when you don't support something, you have to be full-throated about why. You cannot say things like, and I don't want to throw Ben Brodo into this because I tend to try to avoid him. But when a guy says something like, I don't think anybody in this room would want to have dinner with him, that's unnecessary, right? That's
the equal and opposite thing that I just criticized Trump for.
Exactly.
Equal and opposite. That's right.
Exactly. That's what people. That's what people are concerned with, that they want the people who represent them, because the guys who, in essence, are going to get you elected are MAGA folks. Not that you have to, dance around it, but you have to be true to who you are, and I think you are in doing so. I'm going to continue to talk about this, and I appreciate you you coming on the program. Stand your ground. I appreciate the fact that you pushed back on this. I am trying to get more politicians to be like you and that is to call these people to the carpet. I'll leave you with this. He wrote this today, which is why we ended up in this conversation. Collins writes, I won't get into the nitty-gritty, but it was a dispute over editing a column about Representative Greg Howard of Stonington and his defense of the masked warrantless ICE raids in Connecticut. I was told additional comments by Howard were added to the column to make it more balanced, but I couldn't find a copy of the changes in the system. That's what he wrote, and he says that he was then fired for that. So thank you for giving us the other side of that you contacted them, and they wanted to alter it to make sure that you were represented fairly in the article.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Reese, I never even saw his draft. What David Collins got from me, literally, I CC'd the editors. So when he put his opinion out, the editors looked at it and said, well, here's Greg's response. Here's what he wrote. These things don't line up. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the whole problem.
You know what? But you did the thing. You were proactive, and that's where we are, where we are. Thank you, Representative. I appreciate you, sir.
Pleasure. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, man. You too.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, we are back, and you know what? Let's get into, gosh, is it? No, it's not time yet. I thought it was already time for Hollywood news. It ain't time for Hollywood news yet. It's time to promote the website. That's right. It's ReeseOnTheRadio.com, REESE on the radio.com. Make sure that you check out that website. Follow us on Substack. You can also check out the program afterwards. Not yesterday's. That won't be there because we were busy editing a whole bunch of other stuff. Somebody was using certain words, but I won't get into that. Plus, we've got Rozan coming up. She's going to join us. It has been official. Pete Hegseth has been named the Secretary of War. And, folks, we are now dawning on a new name for the Department of Defense, and it is officially called the Department of War. I think that's appropriate. We should play that every time we do a story about the Department of War. I think and we should have that little chyron up there, the Department of War. We just play the explosion. Everybody is upset about that, by the way. Everybody is mad about the Department of War. What are you upset about? It is a great name. It's a fantastic name. You know what? Let's ask a person who used to be, I guess, in active military. And that is none other than my wife, Rozan on the radio. Sorry, that's wrong. There we go. Wrong button. Look at me. Hello, Rozan. Welcome to the show. Why does your camera keep doing that weird thing? I got to fix that. Go ahead. Anyway, how are you today?
I'm good. They used to call us war fighters. That's what we were called. War
yeah,
fighters.
I think appropriately so. That was, here, take this so you can make your camera a little bit tighter. Push the T on there to make it tight. For some odd reason, to keep, there you go. Right there.
Oh, too
Perfect.
tight.
Yeah, go wide a little bit. So you can, there you go. Perfect.
Better?
Much better. Anyway, so the Department of War. Are you okay with that name because you are war fighters?
I think it's phenomenal. The Department of Defense. You have to think about the fact that words mean stuff.
I would think
right?
so.
Defense. We're defensive. Oh, no. Protect me. Defend me. Or the Department of War. Excuse me. You're in my way. Move.
Yeah, it says something.
I'm just saying. I mean, all I keep hearing is that, move, get out the way. Like, that's the U.S. That's who we've always been, is we don't take any guff. We don't.
Yeah.
We drew a line in the sand. You came near it, and we took issue with it. And now it's okay. We'll just move it closer to us. It's fine. We don't need a border. No, it's okay. So I like the Department of War. I think it's appropriate.
Yeah. I think that's the problem. A lot of people think it's too aggressive.
That's right. There it is. That's
There's
the
a tank
U.S.
coming
anthem.
right at you. I suggest you yield to us.
That's the reason why he's the best traffic guy on the planet. Because actually, you should have that music playing when you're telling everybody about the race and traffic.
Exactly.
Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, if you're sitting in that left lane and you're going like 55 miles per hour, move, get out of the way, get into the center.
The NAACP calls him, whoa, Oh, I don't think I'm allowed to read this. It's Reese on the radio. Let's just say some people are not fans. On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Thank you, Russell. Russell just joined us as well. And if you'd like to, you could call us in the next hour because, sometimes, when you got when you gotta go, you gotta go. So Rozan is here, as she is always on Friday, to talk about anything that I dream up to have a conversation about. And today in particular, this is an interesting piece that just came out in the New York Post. I just saw it. Usually I'll have something for you, but I saw this, and you are annoyingly medicine based. Like, you're always on nutrition and medical stuff and chemicals and eating right and making sure that you don't eat this and that's poison and close this and keep that.
All right, let's get to the point. You're beating a dead horse.
I want to make
Holistic
sure that
and healthy and natural.
Whatever the case may be, that you are annoying in all of that, but I know you do it for a good reason.
Too.
So this just came out, and I want to hear your honest to goodness answer on it. RFK Jr., which yesterday had that Senate hearing that was, pretty bombastic with a bunch of Democrats going after him. He is to announce the potential link in Tylenol use during pregnancy to autism. Mm-hmm. Now, is this something you've always known, or you just saw the article recently?
No, I saw this about a year ago.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about what you do know, because one of the biggest issues that RFK Jr. had to deal with yesterday was in relation to autism. And I've been watching this video of Jenny McCarthy, who's now married to Donnie Wahlberg. And Donnie Wahlberg from New Kids on the Block.
Not the other Wahlberg.
Not Mark.
The other one.
Yes, the other one.
Okay.
He was on Blue Bloods.
Blue
Bloods. But anyway, sorry. He's got a new TV series coming out now, too. But when she was with Jim Carrey back in the days and she was dating, when she left the whole Playboy and MTV era.
She went on this whole tirade talking about how food and nutrition could actually reverse autism.
Right, and she was against the use of, vaccines. And she was everywhere. She was on Oprah, and not one person bat an eye. It led to Oprah holding this big, huge special that she did with all of these doctors and mothers who were talking about vaccines, and had doctors on there who were a little skeptical about whether or not it was true or it wasn't. And now, in recent years, we have had this screaming and hollering about how you're not supposed to question the vaccines. And now, that we have full-blown access to the internet and everywhere. Now we're finding new information.
Right.
And Robert Kennedy Jr. is finding out stuff at the CDC. He is opening up the books.
Right.
Talk to me a little.
So like PubMed and NCBI, NIH, things like that. A lot of your academic, like your universities that do trials and things like that. Yeah, they do a lot of peer-reviewed paperwork, right? So these things are not just, I did an experiment, this is law. These are things that are not only experiments, but they're experiments and experiments and experiments. The ultimate goal of an experiment is to disprove the original experiment, right? Mm-hmm. When you have this continued result, you take a little bit of pride in that. You sort of come to really rely on the data, right? Mm-hmm. Other peers, your peer group, will review this document. They will look at it, look for inaccuracies or test fallacies, things that could have been or should have been done differently that have sort of steered the results in a certain direction. One thing that we're seeing consistently in these documents is the blood levels, the labs indicating high levels of heavy metals in the bloodstream of children with autism. Where are these heavy metals coming from? Now, how it correlates to aspirin, I'm not sure. I think that's a whole different mechanism dealing with in utero and the development. But
is aspirin a prescribed?
It's not aspirin. It's acetaminophen. It's
acetaminophen. That's correct.
Medication.
Tylenol is acetaminophen. That's correct.
Right.
Is this prescribed to pregnant women for a particular reason?
It's not necessarily prescribed, but when a woman is pregnant, we have an influx of blood pressure in our bodies, right?
Okay.
And a lot of times that causes headaches. It causes eye strain. It causes sinus pressure, things like that. So one of the safest drugs to use has always been Tylenol. And so a lot of pregnant women feel comfortable taking Tylenol. I was kind of weird in that even when I was pregnant with my kids, wouldn't take anything. I mean, I wasn't even taking prenatal vitamins. And, I got a lot of guff over that. But I don't know what I'm
Was it fear, by the way? I don't want you to go off there.
I don't think it was fear so much as it was an abundance of caution. It was a lack of knowing. And if I don't know, and this is going to sound really weird, if it feels weird to my body, I won't do it. And I'd taken prenatal vitamins a few times, and I'll tell you, I took prenatal vitamins with my first child. He was 6 pounds, 2 ounces.
Wow.
The next one was 7, 8. I didn't take anything.
Okay.
Tylenol, nothing. I mean, 7 pounds, 8, and then of course the boy was, massive, whopping 10 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. But the heavy metals are being found in, believe it or not, people that use air fryers a lot.
Really?
The heavy metals leaching out of the lining of the air cookers, the air fryers, and it's getting into the food. Microwave uses. If you take a look at all of the additives that they put in vaccines, mercury, aluminum, all of these unnecessary heavy metals, and then you read the black label that goes, like the label insert that goes along with the vaccine, there's a huge problem there. Like, I don't think parents are given an opportunity to read. Now, if you've ever seen an old school Bible with the tissue paper thin paper and that minuscule, minute, like smaller than an ant writing, that is the type of print that these inserts come with. And the insert folds out.
It's
about
always long.
15 pages.
Yeah.
It's obscene.
So
people aren't reading it and they're not aware of what they're putting into their children's
and they're
bodies.
and of course, trusting their doctor.
Well, if you don't give your child a vaccine, now you run the risk of them calling CPS and having your kids taken away for endangerment. So
to read this, it says, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is preparing to drop a bombshell report linking Tylenol use in pregnancy to autism. And touting a vitamin-based therapy as a potential treatment for the disorder, according to a report. The Department of Health and Human Services report, which is expected to be published this month, will raise low folate levels and acetaminophen during pregnancy as possible causes of autism. People familiar with the matter told the Wall Street Journal. The review will also highlight folinic acid, known as leucovorin. Does that sound familiar to you? Okay. As a possible therapy to ease autism symptoms in some patients, he told the journal. Autism affected about 1 in 31 8-year-olds in the U.S. in 2022, according to federal estimates. That is incredible. Yeah. What I also wanted to play was this. You might remember, it was talked about yesterday. I think Jesse Waters mentioned it but didn't play the audio. I'm going to play that for you here. This was another study that was hid by the CDC that Robert F. Kennedy had mentioned yesterday. I think this was it.
You want to just talk about what you've witnessed in terms of the capture of the agencies that you're now in charge of, the corruption of science, which I believe you just said, that is almost your number one goal, right, is try to bring integrity and credibility back to science, which has been corrupted by the people who pay for it, by federal health agencies being captured by pharmaceutical industries, by big pharma, by big food. I want to give you, I'm sorry, just the last minute to, first of all, defend yourself, but talk about the corruption of science that you're having to deal with and trying to correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just tell you one example, and I could sit here and give you thousands. But in 2002, CDC did an internal study of Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia children. and looked at children who got the MMR vaccine on time and compared those to kids who got them later. So in other words, kids who got them before 36 months and kids who got them afterward. The data from that study showed that black boys who got the vaccine on time had a 260% greater chance of getting an autism diagnosis than children who waited. The chief scientist on that, Dr. William Thompson, the senior vaccine safety scientist at CDC, was ordered to come into a room with 4 other co-authors by his boss, Frank DiStefano, who's the head of the immunization safety branch, and ordered to destroy that data.
Wow.
And then they published it without that fact. So you know that story, I know that story, and you know of hundreds of stories like that. It happens all the time. We are being lied to by these agencies, and we're going to change that right now.
And that's a measles
right.
vaccine.
Measles, mumps, and rubella. This is where it gets really tricky, right? Because I worked in the medical field. When we first got together, I was a masker. I was a vaxxer.
Yeah.
Prior to giving my son the vaccine or even allowing him, when as soon as we found out that they were allowed for kids under the age of 16, one of the things I kept hearing about was myocarditis and there was something else. But I read the research. Mm-hmm. I was troubled by it. However, at the time I was raising my son by myself, right? So my dialogue with my son and his ability to articulate and come to reasonable deduction of his own accord was something that I encouraged. So I was bothered by it, but he said, Mom, I really just want to get back to normal life. And I said, well, here's what I want you to do. I sent him the link, and I said, I want you to read this, and I want you to understand what is the cause, like the side effect of getting this shot. He reads it, and he comes back a little bit later, and he says, all right, Mom, I read it. I know that there's risk associated, and he literally used his words, I know that there's risks associated with it, but I really just want to get back to real life. And I said, you realize that there is a possibility that you could, like, die. And he's like, Mom, I understand, but I want to get back to real life. When a 14-year-old child looks at you and says, this is enough, I'm tired, I'm like,
it's a tough thing.
He's well-read. He has the capability of understanding the words. If he doesn't, he knows how to look them up. Mm-hmm. So he was aware of what was coming. He was aware of the possibilities. I having worked in the medical field, having given inoculations for years to service members, having gotten inoculations regularly as a service member, I was a huge proponent of vaccines. In 1980, the vaccine mandate for a child was 12 shots. That was 12 shots. I forget what the spread is, but 12. Mm. Today, it's 54. 54 vaccines that is forced into the developing body of a child who has yet to finish developing their own immune system.
With a minute and a half left, knowing what you know now, watching this stuff as it's happening, right? More and more of this information is revealed. If you had to do it all over again, which I know makes no sense, and I know hindsight is 20/20, but would you have done it again? Would you have even given him an opportunity to read it? Or would you have just said
what
no?
I know now?
Yeah.
I feel incredibly blessed that the boy has not been impacted.
Absolutely.
His health was not impacted. But knowing what I know now, no.
Yeah. Wouldn't have done it.
Most vaccines, I would not have gotten him. No.
So many of the people we knew, because we knew a lot of people worked for the government.
Right.
Worked for post office, patent company. Living in D.C., almost everybody we knew worked
and I'm military.
Yeah.
My ex-husband's military. All my friends are
Yeah.
military.
So it's so funny because everybody we knew, at least from my perspective, I'm doing a podcast. I don't have to do any of that. My boys, only one of them had to be vaccinated, but he was in a contentious situation with visitation of his son, who also suffers medically. And so the judge told him in order for him to continue to visit his son, he had to be immunized. Yeah. Like he had to take that. So, and he hated it because he listened to my show every day, still does. And he did not want to take
Carl.
that. And he was, he felt forced to. Yeah. And it's so funny because Carl said to me that he understood his constitutional rights more than he had ever, or understood how valuable they were by listening to this
but if
show.
you have to choose between your child or your freedom.
But he knew what it was, but he understood that, like how important they were because he was under that mandate or forced to. It was incredible. All right, more news and more views when we get back.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
I don't know about you, but I like the sound of that. The Department of War. What's that?
Sometimes you are just a little unnecessary.
I am unnecessary. It's time for Hollywood News with your correspondent, Reese on the radio. All the glitz, all the glamour. It's Hollywood News. We are back. Okay, so when I was growing up as a kid, this guy fascinated me because when I was younger, he did something that many people have talked about forever. Do you remember the movie War of the Worlds? Do you remember anything about it? War of the Worlds, Rozan? No? Gosh, okay, never mind. Tom Cruise did a movie about it with Dakota Fanning. It was one of her first films.
Yeah, that looked terrible.
Yeah, you remember that. Yeah, it did.
I didn't bother to watch it.
Of course it was terrible. It should have
Okay.
never been
It was
remade.
a great movie.
Yeah, well, some people did. Well, back in the days, it was actually a radio program, and it was narrated by none other than Orson Welles.
Yes.
And it was so popular and so crazy that people thought it was real. And Orson Welles went on to be, of course, a famous director. That was weird. He went on to be a famous director. And, of course, always lauded, loved, respected. I mean, he is Orson Welles, Citizen Kane, and so much more. And I've always respected him. He even did a voice job on one of my favorite movies growing up, and that was the Transformers film. He was the voice of Unicron. And he died subsequently afterwards. I always called that the Orson Welles curse because another great actor was Raul Julia. He did Street Fighter, a comic book movie, and he died immediately after. When we come back, I'll talk to you about the Orson Welles news that's in Hollywood News when we return. And I did all that bloviating to only go right into the time where we have to go to news, traffic, and weather. Let's get to Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Oh, hold still. This is only going to hurt a little. It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
That's how we get the bill paid, John Beckman. Mind your manners. More news, more views than you can shake a stick at. Earlier in the show, we talked about the illegal South Koreans at the Georgia Hyundai plant. And they said they gathered over 450 people. Well, I just got another report. This comes from Right Angle News. This is exactly the quote. It has been revealed that the Hyundai battery plant raided in Georgia, being operated almost entirely by illegals, is the same facility built with $5 billion as part of the Biden administration's investment to bring jobs back to America. This was a part of the Build Back Better program. They said the place was run almost entirely by illegals.
Biden invested $5
billion, they're saying.
billion.
Well, we didn't. He didn't invest anything. That's our money.
We did, right. $5 billion to bring a corporation into the United States that was ultimately only employing illegal people.
South Koreans. To which, by the way, Hyundai is saying we know nothing about those illegals, right? We don't know anything about that, which, again, goes back to my earlier point. Like, this
How
is...
the
You got to
heck
do
did they
something
get
about this.
here?
Exactly. How did they get here? How did they get here?
Where did they live?
I don't know.
So under how long is this? Good grief! How long has this plant been in operation?
Again, I don't know how long it's been in operation, but according to the press, because they said it during the press conference, one of the reporters asked the investigator, one of the lead spokesperson, in fact, she stated that this was something that many in the community, even the press, knew that the individuals there were illegal. Like, this was common knowledge and open
that's
secret.
all fine and good. But what I'm trying to get to is they were supposed to be a company brought to America to make jobs.
Yeah, to make
for
batteries
Americans.
for Americans, right?
meaning none of these illegals paid taxes.
Correct.
To live in America.
Well, hold on. Don't forget. Now, there'll probably be more to this, but I want you to consider this. One of the big scandals when back in the days, and I keep promising myself I'm going to play this audio. Maybe I'll do it next week. One of the big scandals in all of this is, because we keep hearing this nonsense about how illegals are paying into this tax system, and because they are getting Social Security numbers, or as many people argue, ITIN numbers. What they're not telling you is that, yes, many of these illegals do have Social Security numbers.
But they're stolen.
That's correct. Stolen numbers from other people.
Right.
And how they're getting caught is that when Joe Schmo gets audited by IRS, they find out that he's not Italian.
A Hyundai employer.
Yeah, Hyundai employment. Right, exactly.
Right.
It was like, hey, you have a job in Georgia. And the guy's like, no, I don't.
I live in Denver.
Yeah, it's insane.
So, but what I'm saying is Biden, the Hussein 2.0, invested our money, my money, to build a plant for American jobs that only employed illegals who never paid taxes.
Presumably.
Who contributed. They didn't. Let's not beat around the bush. They contributed nothing to our society. Nothing. Maybe some bulgogi. I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying that's where we are. Anyway, I want to get back to this Orson Welles thing because this is crazy, this particular story. So anyway, with all of that, Orson Welles, a brilliant actor. So apparently there was a movie that he did back in, I want to find a year here. It was in 1941, I believe it was. 1941, that's right. He did a film that was set to be released. It was called The Magnificent Ambersons. And it was owned by RKO Gower Street Studios, which is now Sunset Gower Studios in Los Angeles. Turns out that the movie, which was originally supposed to be 131 minutes long, was destroyed. 43 minutes of it was destroyed because they could not get an agreement on a particular part. There were all these rewrites, and he had filmed all of this stuff, and they didn't like it. And the studio ended up destroying it against the will of Orson Welles. It says, once RKO took over the editing, it deleted almost a third of the negatives for the film without Orson Welles' approval to free vault space. Right? So in other words, they had it. They needed vault space. They got rid of it. Anyway, the footage was never found. So Showrunner, which is an Amazon-owned company, they said that they're going to deploy what's called Fusion AI and traditional film techniques to reconstruct the lost footage. This includes shooting some sequences with live actors with the plans to use the face and pose transferred techniques onto those actors. In other words, using the original actors superimposed on live actors in order to, reestablish that 40 some odd minutes of tape so they can re-release the film. So in essence, it will almost be a fully AI film from 1941. This, I believe that, how there's always that one moment where I say that film is about to change. I was on the website earlier today. You saw, I was like, will I be replaced by robots.com? And I was looking up particular jobs. This is one of those industries. The movie industry is done if this is successful. If, you can't tell the difference. I saw some, when they did Carrie Fisher in one of those Star Wars movies, at the end, you can clearly see the CGI. But if they are able to do AI and literally reinvent 41 minutes of an Orson Welles 1941 film, it's a wrap. It is a wrap. The movie industry is done. Well, maybe not. Maybe it won't be done.
You're so cute watching your little wheels spin.
I know. I'm just saying. Because I'm a big movie guy. I love the movies. I always will.
I'm sitting here going, oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't care.
Sorry.
You don't care.
I care that you care. I care about your care. So I don't care about the subject, but I care.
Have you
about
finished
your
Raiders
care.
of the Lost Ark yet?
Oh, it's so bad. I can't even finish it.
You've never seen it before.
No, it's just so bad.
You see my point here? You see what I have to put up with?
The pyrotechnics alone are just embarrassing.
So you don't really care for this?
No, not at all.
Why did you want to see it in the first place?
I don't know.
It was just curiosity?
It was idle curiosity, yeah.
Was it anything to do with Harrison Ford, or did you not care?
No, I'm not particularly attracted to Harrison Ford. I just see you're doing that thing.
Judging you?
No, you're saying what you think I'm going to say at the same time I'm talking.
Oh, yeah, my mouth is moving?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I know you very well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. Let's go to phones real quick. Lori's in Glastonbury. Hello, Lori.
Hey there. Hey, Rozan.
Hello.
I'm glad that you guys got back safely, and I'm sorry I haven't called in before now. But
That's okay.
The whole conversation about RFK Jr., I'm thrilled to pieces that he is doing what he's doing, because it's just so good to know, like, what is in our food, what is in our medications, what are what is in all of the vaccines. And so one of the things that I kind of thought was interesting too, if it kind of makes sense that autism would be linked with Tylenol, because dementia or Alzheimer's, actually maybe just dementia, is linked to prolonged use of Benadryl.
Yeah.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So Rozan, I'm in all of this with you. I love doing all of the research. I am the queen of the supplements.
Yeah.
I'll take all the elderberry, all of the cranberry, whatever supplement I need to take in order to keep me off medications.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So try this. Instead of supplements, use food instead.
Well, I'm doing that too.
Yeah,
I do that too.
What is that? Use what instead?
Food. So, like when I get a virus, right? Pineapples. I'm always telling you to go get me some pineapple. I need ginger. I need garlic. I need, that need certain things that naturally combat viruses, rather than going to get Tamiflu or,
Right.
So yeah, I do a lot of whole food medicine.
Lori, is this one of those things that are uniting moms? Because when I say this in the sense of, like, RFK Jr. is really, really beloved by moms in all of this. And again, I guess the protectivism in mothers when it comes to their children, autism is really one of those like lightning rods when it comes to, because every mom is concerned. Don't they have am I right? Do they have a test that parents take to find out if their kid's going to have Down syndrome or anything like that beforehand?
Yeah, that's the old one. I think there's a new way of doing it.
Okay,
now.
but parents are really, like, they're very dialed in to this thing. And when autism plays a role, that fear, because no matter where you look, I think we even run an ad here on WTIC, or at least we used to, about autism all the time, about we used to run an ad that used to say, would have the two parents saying, well, maybe he's not happy, or maybe he doesn't laugh a lot, or maybe he just doesn't talk. And it was like, we should check if our kid has autism. So it's always like at the top of mind with moms. And I kind of feel like this is a place where Congress is going to get ahead of its skis and demonize a guy that mothers really champion in RFK Jr. Lori, do you agree?
Well, yes. I mean, I feel as though parents have been forced for years to acquiesce because no one was championing their concerns. Everyone was dismissed because they were considered crunchy granola. They don't follow the science, whatever. But I think what is also coming into light, I mean, many of our illustrious legislators take money from the pharmaceutical community.
Hundreds of millions a year.
Mm-hmm. Right. So everything is compromised. So I do think that I have friends that are moms that are really excited about all of this because they just want to be able to have the choices. They want to be the captains of the ship when it comes to their children's lives, their children's health, what is their children consume, what is put in their children. They just want to be able to have
what they're learning at school, what
they're being taught as a lay person.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Lori, that as you're talking about this, the things that keep running through my mind. I look at this in a degree, with a degree of zeitgeist, right? Because I look at what parents see on television, online, and if you think about it in this scope, I just wrote a Substack article about this, about watching St. Jude's Hospital and Shriners Hospital for Children, kids with childhood illnesses, leukemias, cancers, and things like that, and other illnesses and sickness. As I'm watching that, and as mothers are watching that every day, pregnant, thinking about having children, the one thing that they're always being bombarded with is, what if my child? You know what I mean? And this is just one of those things that you can't get this wrong, because those parents are concerned, or any future parents for that matter, are concerned, what is going to happen with my child? And when you got RFK coming out and saying, look, these people are lying to you about what they're telling you to take and what to put in your body, as a mother, you're going to be, I got to stop this.
I've been telling you this for a couple of years now, and you just kind of think I'm, some tree-hugging.
I'm a guy. I can't get pregnant.
Right. Well, not just about that, but I'm very protective of your health as well.
Yes, I know. I
have changed up your entire diet. And some things, the cutest thing is he didn't even know I changed him from eating ground beef to ground bison because it's healthier. You had no idea about that.
Right.
But these are the things that we take into consideration. Like men go out into the world and you work and you conquer that realm. Everything else is left up to us. We are left behind to have to take care of your health, the kids' health, our health, the health of the house. I mean, the things that a woman has to, our brains never shut off. It could be 2:00 in the morning and I'm wondering, oh my God, did my kid take, that thing that one time, and how's that going to impact him long? This is the crap that we are forced to think about while you get to go, the great successful day at work. I'm going to go to sleep now. The world never stops being dangerous, and nobody is telling us the truth, and it's up to moms to pay attention to what's harming our children, and it's made even worse. It's exacerbated by professionals, and I use the air quotes. Yeah. Those professionals who tell us that, oh, no, you're just imagining things. Yeah. The hell I am.
Yeah. Thank you, Lori.
And I think...
Yeah, last word.
Well, I think if people did a deep dive as to how food is medicine, if they just understood how their bodies would benefit from eating whole foods instead of processed foods, they would be amazed as to how their health would change. And it's not to be dismissed for you're not a hippie, dirty hippie, whatever. If you
are health conscious,
interested in these things, you're just very health conscious, and you try to be as informed and
we got it, Lori. I'm sorry, I got to cut you off. I do. I apologize. It's all right. All right, love you. Let's get to weather and traffic. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS traffic center. Sorry about that, buddy. Who's not even there. Here I am rushing for him. He'll be here in a second. Okay, Mark Christopher, he'll be there in a sec. Stand by.
Yes, food is medicine, and if you cut out seed oils and stick to things like tallow, coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, not the aerosol stuff, but like the stuff in a bottle.
Yeah.
My arthritis, I haven't had an arthritis flare-up in 4 years because we just from switching off the oils. That's it.
All right. I think Mark Christopher's there now. Mark?
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app, search WTIC News Talk 1080, and tap earlier today to get started.
All right, Reese on the radio. We're almost out of here, and we have almost reached the end of our program. And this is the part where we tell you about what had happened was in today's program. We talked about the stupidest thing I read today. EBT, just 3 years ago, used to only be available at Taco Bell's in 7 locations. 2 years later, it is now available in 165 locations, 143 of them located in California alone, with 22 in Michigan. Rozan is not happy about this story, and this look on her face is always priceless. So why are you what are you so upset about when it comes to this story?
Taco Bell. A food stamp card at Taco Bell, and you wonder why they're all diabetic and fat.
I know. Look,
why not make it accessible at a farmer's market?
Well, it already is.
I don't feel like cooking. I'm gonna go get some Taco Bell.
I thought it was I thought it was horrible as well. But the only reason why I know this story is because I saw this video with these 2 women who were online bragging about it, and there used to be a time when that was absolutely. Look, if I could tell this story,
bragging about being on food. Girl, I got to use my food stamps over to Taco Bell today. Yes, queen.
I don't.
Good. Good.
When I was a kid, I told this story a bunch of times. But when I was a kid, there were these two girls this one girl that I liked. She was with her girlfriend. And we were at the Key Food grocery store, which I ended up working at later on. And my mom had sent me with the big book of food stamps. And this was at a time during.
I used to hate that.
The big book of food stamps that she used to give me. But see, this was beyond your time, Roland. My mother gave me the big book of food stamps where when you bought something, they would give you what's called food stamp change. Does anybody remember that?
Food stamp change.
Okay, you do. Okay, you're old enough to remember
Food
that.
stamp change. What was it, like plastic coins?
Yes, it was.
Shut up your face.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. It was plastic coins. You know, like when the kids get like the fake poker game, like the plastic poker game chips. That's what they were, and they had 25. Yeah, they had 25 cents written on them, and a dime and a nickel. Yeah,
Boy, they really did not want food stamp recipients entering the regular market.
That was what I'm
at
saying.
all.
We did not know, but it was you knew you were on public assistance, and you tried to hide that everywhere you went. But then they put it on the debit card, and it was all over.
So embarrassing.
But I'm telling you, that's the kind of shame I grew up with. And it was like, you didn't know about the food stamp coins. Yeah. Look them up. They're still on there. People have pictures of them. They're fantastic to look at.
We had pogs in the Army. We had pogs, but that's a whole different animal.
Let's get a check of weather and traffic. John Ferrick is in the Weather Center, and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. How are you, Mark?
What's up, everybody? You know who it is. You know who it is. You know who it is. It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, so we are back. It's Reese on the radio, WTIC News Talk 1080. So Rozan has never seen these coins. So I put them up on the screen. So as you can see, the black coin is the 1 cent food stamp coin.
It's a penny.
That is a 1 cent coin.
It probably costs more to make that coin than the penny.
Green was 5 cent, 10 cent blue, 25 cent red, 50 cent in the pink.
So, you know, Monopoly has money, right?
Yes.
But this Monopoly has like bills, like what they call fold-in money.
Sure.
This is what you would find in the off-brand version of Monopoly. It's called Hoodopolis.
Yes, but can you imagine, like I'm saying, the shame that when you purchase something with food stamps at the store, you were given a handful of these plastic coins.
You know,
imagine you were purchasing something in the end with the tax on it. Like you bought something that was 99 cents and the total came to 108 and you paid with 2 food stamp dollars. You had to come 92 cents of food stamp change.
You know what coins sound like change? You know, sometimes you just
absolutely.
just shake it around in your hand like it's got a sound. It jangles. That I can hear that. I can hear that.
You can hear the clankling of plastic.
I can hear the
clackety clack of plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty bad, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Like this again. Look, and this was a motivator, right? This is again having had that experience is why I never went on welfare. Even when I was homeless, when I was struggling, there was no way I was getting a job. Okay, no matter what. Okay, I was selling fudgy wudgy bars on Long Island.
I was cleaning people's houses to not have to go into the system. As a single mother raising a child, I preferred cleaning people's houses to getting in the welfare system. Like there's nothing
technically
about
how we got together.
That is actually how we got together.
Yeah.
But there's this makes me think about my post that I posted a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
If you think white folks are privileged simply because of their skin color, I really want you to stop and think about how privileged one must be to be able to stay in housing that they pay $37 for.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really pay any electric bills.
Mm-hmm.
They get their hair done, their nails done. They can take their little food stamps card and get Taco Bell.
Right.
And you know, their diabetes is paid for. Their
in essence, their livelihood subsidized.
Everything is paid for.
Yeah.
They don't even have to go to school if they don't want to. I mean, they wake up and they run around and, you know, commit crime, and in some cities they can commit a crime and get out 20 minutes later. They got a free lunch out of the deal. You know what I mean? Like, this is almost like, how is that not privilege?
Yeah, I don't know. But like I said, knowing that, I will admit, and it's crazy that people don't understand that. Having had the experience to use these coins.
I'm glad I didn't know you back then.
You know, I was a baby. But having had the experience of using these coins, or in many cases, coming home with the items my mom would send me with and then asking her if I could keep the food stamp coins so I could buy candy. Stop laughing.
I'm sorry. You must have been so cute. Oh.
And she would give them to me, and sure enough, we'd buy, tasty cakes and all that other good stuff because you could still purchase that. The stores would let you use that, and you didn't really...
Did you save all your little pennies until you had enough?
My little plastic pennies? No. And it's funny because to show you exactly how rude of a person that I was, if my mom gave me that plastic food stamp money, I would toss the pennies. They were beneath me. Yeah,
well, obviously.
I don't want the pennies.
Ew.
The plastic pennies are worthless.
I'll take the plastic nickel, though.
It shows how arrogant I was as a child. But yeah, so there you are.
So what you're saying is if I walk into Hollis, Queens, in your old neighborhood, I might find some old pennies laying on the ground.
You will not. Trust me. If anyone's holding those, I'm sure that you. And I think
are they collector's items?
They have to be. They just have to be. I couldn't imagine anyone like they should be in the Smithsonian.
It is Americana at its finest.
It is. I mean, it totally should. There should be museums
next to one of those blocks of gummit cheese that never
dedicated to the hood in you. It should be in a hood museum, right?
It's right after the transgender section.
They should call it the Hoodsonian or something like.
Yeah. It's right after the transgender section in the Smithsonian.
Exactly.
Maybe before.
Let's go to Steve in Springfield. Hello, Steve. Thanks for holding. How are you?
Hey, Reese. I'm making too much of a habit of talking to you. I just turned 69. How old are you?
I've just turned 56 on the 14th of August.
Oh wow, you're just a young whippersnapper.
I've fought so hard.
I got something that I meant to bring up the other day, but I got distracted with the vaccine topic.
No problem.
So if the president uses the National Guard to go into a city, where does that put the race riots during the 60s or 50s and 60s that where JFK had to bring in the National Guard?
That's...
Are we going to use that as a court precedent for them in their case?
Well, you know what? I think that what they're going to do is, first of all, if you bring the National Guard and you put them on federal land, no one can say a thing about it, right? I mean, that's primarily what the idea is going to be. It's like bring the National Guard in to stand around on federal land. And once they're there, you can weasel your way, if you will, into the city. And I think that's what Donald Trump is going to do. He's going to find a way to get leaders. And by the way, there's interviews going on right now in Chicago where people in the community are demanding the National Guard come in.
Like the actual people that actually live in Chicago.
Actual citizens who are making a demand. So a lot of this posturing that you're seeing from Pritzker and the likes of, what's his name, Brandon Johnson, that stuff is really for the likes of Morning Joe and the news media and things like that and MSNBC. But, if this guy wants to go above 7% approval rating, Brandon Johnson's going to have to bend the knee. What do you got?
I lived in Chicago.
I'll tell you, they're painting themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
Because this is going to fall apart. This whole argument is going to fall apart on it. And plus, not only that, too, if you stop and think about it, there is such a thing as if the individuals who live in Chicago are having their civil rights violated.
That's true.
By criminals.
Well, let's go one step further, Steve. Steve, here's what you need to understand. Because, the same thing that's happening in Connecticut is going to happen in Chicago, but not with immigration, with crime. When you told people that you were building a sanctuary for them here in Connecticut, what did they do? They flourished. They were seen everywhere. They went everywhere. They did whatever. It took crackdowns in order for people to start go into hiding. When you tell the people of Chicago, as Brandon Johnson and Pritzker are saying, is that we're going to keep the feds out, you are telling criminals, because they watch the news too. You are telling criminals that we're not going to bring in the feds to curb
You're
the crime.
safe here.
You're safe here. You have a safe haven to commit crimes against folks. So what happens? The problem exacerbates. People start going above and beyond to commit crimes, doing things that they know they're not going to be.
With that video
stop.
we saw last night with Johnny, where dudes were pulling long rifles out of their pants.
Exactly. They're
On
walking through the
just
street and they
normally.
know that the mayor and the governor are protecting them as opposed to the citizens. So what are you going to see? You're going to see bedlam in the streets and these guys fighting themselves, saying, look, we got to stop the crime, but the only way that we can do it is by bringing in the federal government. But that's acquiescing to Donald Trump. And they don't want to do that. And they're more worried about the political.
I got one final point.
Yeah.
I've noticed that lately, what Trump is doing is if they try to thwart him or squash him on one point, he's finding another law that he can exploit to get things done.
Well, he's not
finding
exploiting.
more new ways of doing stuff.
He's
They're
not
in
exploiting the
trouble.
laws, and that's what's really important. Is it's not exploitation. All he's attempting to do is implement or enforce laws that already exist.
Right. And the end of the day, I think that what people need to understand is that while everyone else in the news media are making this about Trump, at the end of the day, the people of Chicago are saying, dude, you really can't say it's about him when his objective is to protect us.
Right.
Like, people read through that nonsense. So thank you, Steve. I appreciate you, buddy. Have a great weekend. Let's go to Tom in Thomaston before we get out of here. I'm sorry. Did you want to say something before we go to Tom?
Yeah, I lived in Chicago on the south side, 103rd and King.
Uh-huh.
My ex and I got into
let me
an
put him on
argument.
hold because that noise is going to be a lot. Sorry.
Ex and I got into an argument. It was probably around 9, 10 o'clock at night. And
Uh-huh.
what I typically do, I went for a walk. Boy, I heard him and his mom screaming, go get her. She can't be. Now, you see me. I'm a little light-skinned. 130.
People in Chicago thought you were white.
Everybody thinks I'm white. They came in a car, flying down, was that 103rd?
Mm-hmm.
They came flying down 103rd screaming, get in this mother in car. And I'm like, what the heck? They told me, this is not the place where you want to be walking after the sun goes down.
Yeah.
And this was back in 2006 before the boy was even born.
I love the way you say back in 2006. That wasn't that long ago.
Well, it's not today.
Yeah, okay.
So if it was dangerous then to the point where I was told, nobody goes outside after the sun goes down, I can only imagine how much it's gotten
I don't know
worse.
how Dorothy and Joe still stay there. I just don't know. I mean, God bless them. They're flourishing. But
Joe was a Chicago cop.
Yeah.
So, the police patrol around their house regularly because, he's a retired cop.
yeah. All right. Let's go to Tom and Thomason before we get out of here. Hey, Tom.
Hey, hello to the both of you. Hey, Reese, maybe I didn't realize I was the White Devil. Maybe my name should be, maybe I should be Beelzebub from Bristol, you know?
Beelzebub.
Beelzebub Tom. That's what you...
from Bristol, yeah. I got a question for Rozan, but first, you brought up Jenny McCarthy. Let's remember, she ran around with that quack doctor who faked all his research on autism.
That's correct.
It was nothing but a fraud.
That's correct. Yeah, without a doubt. What was your question for Rozan?
Oh, Rozan,
Yes.
you were a medic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you earn a expert medic badge or a combat medic badge?
No, I never deployed, and I never went out for an EFMB.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. Yeah, I never. I got out before. I got a expert infantry badge, but never. Thank God, never was in combat.
Did you ever take Did you ever take it up? Because I know Rozan says that usually that folks who are in the military who become medics, that there's another process that you cannot become an EMT, or is that difficult?
No.
How did you?
No. In order to become a medic, you have to be EMT certified.
Oh, right. Okay.
Registered. I was in the nursing program, the LPN program, which
Okay.
then requires me to go on and get my practical nurse license, which
Oh, okay. Tom, did you pursue it after the fact?
he was an EIB, expert infantry badge. That's
Well, thank you.
You can't be an infantryman in the civilian world on a professional level. They don't do that.
Okay, well, I thought he did. I thought he had medical training. I'm sorry. Maybe I misunderstood what he was saying.
Most of your infantrymen will have very minimal of
I'm out of my
medical
depth.
training.
I'm out of my
You
depth on this conversation.
kind
aren't
of
I?
are, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So every soldier in the military, every soldier in the army has to learn how to treat himself, herself, and their partner. But like bare minimum, we call an IFAC. It's a little pouch that has gauze and bleeding stuff, things like that just quick triage. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just wondering. Was that it, Tom?
Yeah.
Thank you,
yeah,
man. I
excellent.
appreciate you. Have a wonderful weekend, sir.
Yeah, you two both.
You got
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that stuff.
I
You know,
know.
I hate blood. I just
know.
can't.
You're
It's just
so cute.
It's nasty.
You are the typical, like if you would have been one of my infantrymen, you would have been one of the guys screaming and crying, begging to get the nasal spray flu shot because needles scare you.
First of all, blood shows injury, and like when I see it, I'm so like Can you believe it? Like I've been in fights, and I've actually been bloodied. Like, you understand that?
Did you pass out at the sight of your own blood?
No, because then I got adrenaline going. Then I don't care. But if I saw a guy and his face was all bloody, like I got into a fight when I was in summer camp, right, in grade school. I punched a kid's nose, right, and he bled a lot. And I freaked out at all of the blood. I was like, can you do me a favor? Can you stop bleeding? That's disgusting.
Can you turn away? It's gross.
Yes.
I broke a kid's nose when I was probably 12 or 13. He was being... not a very nice
The least he
person.
could do was not bleed.
Broke his nose.
Yeah, I don't know if I broke the kid's nose,
I
but I
did.
know it made his nose
I
bleed.
did the same thing in 5th grade with a spelling book.
You
Bust
hit a
the
guy
kid
with
nose
a spelling book?
and broke his nose and blood went everywhere.
Dang. Well, I used my little fist. I'm bony though.
I didn't
so.
use a weapon. Be careful. Jesus, it may
I
be.
threw it like a ninja star. I didn't know it was going to hit him in his nose. I was aiming for the back of his
story
head.
gets worse.
Yeah, but he turned around. I was aiming for the back of his head. He turned around and hit
right.
him in the
You were only trying to give a concussion, not
Yeah.
That's our show. We are out of here this week, and I hope you enjoyed this week, this short week, as it was. And I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. She's Rozan on the radio. He is Mark Christopher. He's at the BPS Traffic Center. Good night, Mark. Have a great weekend. Then we got bad blood. Good night, Mark.
Taylor Swift.
You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy.
You got it.
A little Neil Sedaka to wrap up the week.
Why not?
Everybody in a good mood, right? Hey, guys, if you're heading into Hartford right now, westbound 84, you got delays approaching the...
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, man. Have a
5
wonderful
Flatbush
weekend.
Avenue,
Find out who the mole is.
Yeah, I need to. I was like, it kind of made me burn me up. I said, Roland, calm down, man. It ain't. You ain't got to, because I been to smack somebody up in here.
There's always one, dude.
Downtown up in the
Yep.
Have a good one.
You too.
Moving well, Glastonbury and East.
Roll to roll.
Little town Waterbury's a little slow.
You two
mole?
in the road to road. Yeah, I'll tell you about it off the air. Thank you, Michael A. I appreciate you. John Beckman, congratulations. No, not congratulations. Thank you. That's what I meant to say.
Words are hard.
I hope you guys got an opportunity to watch the video. I know a lot of people are responding to it. It has got over 3,000 views on my page, on my X page, and it is still blowing up. The Connecticut Sentinel has done an article about it. You can go there and find it as well.
I really think we need to do that new segment that I was mentioning. How
Which
long until this person calls Reese the N-word? Like, I feel like that's a segment that we should really do.
Speaking of which, Roseanne came up with an idea that was immediately shot down by the front office. And since you're all here listening to the program, we'd like
You're welcome.
Roseanne came up with the idea, and I did a small version of it, or a quick version of it. We thought that we could play a promo during or after the commercial break that sounded a little like this. Here goes. Let me see. Here we go. There it is. All right. Listen up. It went like this.
Reese on the radio.
You are the nigga.
On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But we need to fix it up a little bit, but that's what it sounds like.
Reese on the radio.
You are the nigga.
On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
They said no.
I can't imagine why.
I can't imagine why either. We got to go.
That's a new segment, though. How long until the interview?
Yeah, how long until
calls
the
Reese
word is used? We're gonna have to get a lot more black people on the show.
Good luck.
Damn, just shot it down.
I'm just saying, it's hard enough to find, Like, this guy was so arrogant, he had no idea what he was walking into.
Hard to find good guests? Is that what you're about to say?
Well, good.
Black guests.
Well, I mean, God, that sounds racist. I'm only speaking statistically based on the average interviewee that shows up.
We got to go.
By the way, since you were the subject of a vicious hate crime yesterday,
okay,
have we heard from BLM 420?
No. 860.
Whatever.
No.
ACLU,
no.
the NAACP,
No way.
the
No.
NFL. Nobody?
I'm not black.
Well,
No.
I beg to differ.
Goodbye. Say goodnight, Rozan.
Good night, Rozan.
I love you guys. Be good to each other.